Welcome to the Jockey Club, a podcast looking at the movie Let It Ride, one scene at a time. My name is Dan Delgado, and we're at historic Hialeah Park where one man is having the best day of his life.
I'm having a good day.
So come on in and hang out while we talk about this day and the greatest movie of all time, Let It Ride. Don't worry about that guy at the door. I've got you covered. You can even
take my seat to the Jockey Club.
Welcome back to the Jockey Club. My name is Dan Delgado, and we are up to episode 12, which means we are discussing the 12th scene of Let It Ride. And really, it's the 12th scene according to me. This is the scene, right, where Trotter has what I would consider a very unusual exchange at the hamburger stand at the track. And back again with me to discuss this scene is James David Patrick. James is not just a huge fan of Let It Ride, which he is, but he is also the host of the Cinema Shame podcast and the writer of the official Netflix DVD blog. And if you're playing along at home, this is going to be from minute 32:05 to 33:04. So basically, we're looking at one quick minute from the movie today. Now, let's head on up to my usual table at the Jockey Club to discuss the 12th scene from Let It Ride.
This is definitely a scene within the movie.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good way of putting it. It's a scene within the movie. Yes.
It's almost a scene that you could lift out of the movie.
Oh my God. You absolutely could. Yeah. If you were looking to, all right, you know what? 86 minutes, too much. We need another minute. This is probably where you're going to lop it out right here.
It's an unusual thing, this scene. Like tonally, visually, the whole thing almost feels like something that a producer would go to, like you said, and this right here doesn't. What is this? What is this scene telling me?
I'll tell you what, it almost feels as though there was something else that was supposed to go with this scene. As though we were supposed to see this character, the waitress or whatever you want to call her, Quinella.
Quinella.
What a name.
Hogan.
What a name, Quinella. She works. Well, I guess it was just
want
fate.
The background of the name. Like,
yes.
So you wrote this, right?
Yes.
Where does Quinella Hogan come from? Like, I've brainstormed some wild names for some of the stories I've written, but Quinella is next level.
I mean, if you ask me, she was fated to work at the track. All right. So, and also, this is, you bring in Mary Woronov. I never know if I say her name right. Do you think that's right? Woronov?
I would run it together. Warnov. I've kind of condensed that a little bit.
I like
Warnov.
That. Actually sounds better too. Warnov.
Yeah.
All right, we're going with that. By the way, put that down. That's official. So you would think though that based on this scene that she's coming back. I mean, you get her one quick time when he's running through the track, evading the cops or whatever, but that's it. And the way this scene is sort of constructed and the way that she sort of presents herself as, I don't know, like you don't know what's going on with her for a second. It feels as though, there was another scene that would sort of, I don't know, maybe bookend this one, or maybe she was supposed to pop up a couple of times. I don't know.
It feels like you cast someone like Mary Woronov that there's
right.
something more to that. And no, she's not an A-lister, so that somebody's going to go, who the hell is that? We can't bring it back, because I mean the whole cast is full of actors and actresses that have made a living out of their supporting roles.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Woronov is a little bit of an interesting character to even include in the movie. I mean, we're not talking about the size of the role or the size of her career at this point in time, because her counterculture period had kind of dimmed by this point. I'm not
For
you know,
sure.
I certainly didn't know who she was in 1989.
Oh no, me neither. Absolutely not. This is the first
She
time I'd ever seen her. I'm sure.
Many times later, I go, "That's the weird burger lady from Let It Ride." And then eventually, you know, you get
Burger
back to
lady.
Eating Raoul and Death Race, and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
she's
right.
kind
Exactly.
of a deal." And then you learn. I mean, we could do a whole episode on Mary Warnov's career. I mean, she started with Andy Warhol and was kind of the darling of the factory for a while. She was in a bunch of his shorts, and she made a name for herself as Hanoi Hannah in Chelsea Girls. This is her big breakout. She's also a go-go dancer in the Velvet Underground movie that Andy Warhol was involved in. So she was, I mean, sort of a counterculture icon towards the late 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And here she is, 1989, is the diner lady in Let It Ride. But if you follow her career as it evolved, you know, it kind of makes sense. She's playing something sort of subversive, maybe subversive. I don't know exactly what's, you know, I'd like to have a firmer handle on what was in mind with this scene. Really,
Right.
to say why casting, I struggle here because again, whose decision? Joe Pitka, was he involved? Like, is this strictly casting? Like, it seems strange for Mary Warnoff to have a casting call for this movie. So I would love backstory for this scene, for this casting decision. I mean, that's the thing that really interests me about this, is her involvement.
Yes, absolutely. Because it just seems so odd, and also to have it in such a small part. And it's not as though it's some sort of uncredited cameo. It doesn't really, I mean, this doesn't really fit in with the other things that you would know her from, right? It's way more mainstream of a comedy, if you would consider it mainstream, but it's certainly more mainstream than everything else that you kind of associate her with. So yeah, her presence here is definitely a little odd, and I don't know. Was she just around? Did she just need some money for a day's work? Like, I'm with you. There's something that's a little odd about her presence there.
I mean, it's not like she wasn't. I mean, she worked consistently throughout
Absolutely,
the 80s.
sure,
And she was involved in a lot of these Hollywood productions. I mean, she was in Dick Tracy for a hot minute. Right before this, she had done scenes from The Class Struggle in Beverly Hills, which not a big movie in any way. It is notable. I mean, it's a decent film. Again, she's not a lead. She's behind Ray Sharkey and Jacqueline Bisset, but she's supporting. Further back, she's pops up in Warlock.
Oh my God, that's right. She sure does. Oh my God.
Black Widow in '87. Which is another. I mean, it's another Hollywood production, not big one, but it's a decent movie.
It is a movie I saw with my mother.
There you go.
Yeah. I think about that. Yeah. Don't know about that.
It's an uncomfortable.
That's it. See, you're getting it. Okay, that's all. Yeah, okay, so we should probably discuss what the scene actually is. So this is where the scene is maybe 60 seconds, maybe. Trotter walks in to this burger stand that's at the track. He orders a burger, and immediately, right, Quinella asks, why do you like this faith healer? Now, she's not facing him when she asks.
Let's rewind for just 3 seconds.
Do it.
So there's a weird moment that happens right when this scene starts.
Okay. Yeah.
He walks into frame. The odds are up on the monitor in the foreground on a column, and we see the horses and the odds.
Okay.
And you hear from somewhere. It doesn't look like it's coming from her. You don't know where the source of it is, but someone says, why do you like this faith healer? And he's like, for who? You talking to me? And he has this moment where there's no idea. Is that a voice from the ether? Where is this coming from? Because she's turned away.
She is. She's got her back to him when you hear that voice.
Right. And then he approaches the counter. He has this moment of confusion looking around. Then he approaches the counter. And she says, I hear you're hot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she knows that somehow everyone under the sun, everyone
Right.
at the track, everyone in Marty's, they all know that he's won that first race. And this is a perfect example. He's rolling up on this burger stand, and she's already aware of it.
And then she asks him directly, why do you like this faith healer? Like the previous moment didn't happen.
Right.
If she did say it, if she didn't say it. She didn't hear it if she if someone else said it, because she's asking the question again to him directly.
Well, she didn't get an answer. The voice did not get an answer.
The voice.
Right.
And this could be cleared up a little bit, like if we were in some way supposed to know that she said it and she's repeating it because he didn't answer, but he's confused.
Mm-hmm.
We're confused. And I'm not really sure what the intention. I'm not sure how we're supposed to receive this this moment. I've always been confused by this 6-second segment of this scene.
All right, but the real thing is where he responds and says, "How do you know that I like Faith Healer?"
Right.
Which, by the way, for those of you not paying attention at home, Faith Healer is the next horse that Trotter is going to bet on. So how do you know? And this is where she turns into, I don't know, a mystical being. She turns around. We're getting the chimes. It's sounding like something supernatural is happening. And then she says to him, his fortune cookie. She says, you might be walking around lucky and not even know it.
With the fate jingles.
Exactly, with the fate jingles. Exactly.
Chimes, the fate jingles, whatever you want to do. The symbolic sound that happens when fate has intervened in his day.
That's right. Whenever the spiritual compulsion,
right?
That's your phrase,
trademark.
Your phrase.
Compulsion.
The spiritual compulsion rises.
Not mine. The guy behind me at the coffee shop kept saying, but
we don't know that.
Trademarked it. We don't know him. He's not listening to this.
Exactly. So anyway, that's when that moment happens, right? And she not only knows that he likes Faith Healer, she also says this phrase that's been rattling around in his head since he saw the fortune cookie at the very beginning of the film. So what do we make of this? Is this something that is actually happening, or is this something that's happening in Trotter's head? Is he just sort of in tune with some other force that's out there?
I have to believe, just based on the performance value of the way that she delivers that line.
Right.
It's got to be beyond just his brain at this point. She delivers this line so curiously. With her outstretched hand. It's almost like the pull the strings moment from Ed Wood. She's like controlling him somehow. It's such an odd little performance tick that she's got here, and it's wonderful. I don't want to say odd and it's like that doesn't belong here, because I think we've gotten to the point where these little eccentricities, they gather, right? And I think this is why it's not just in his head. It's not this. He's not seeing this. He's not seeing it because he wants to see it. He wants to gamble. I mean, I think the movie is suggesting that there is something slightly supernatural happening today.
I mean, if anything is
suggested,
it's this scene.
Right.
It's this scene. Because it makes no sense that A, she would know the name of the horse he wants to bet on, and B, because he hasn't sold anyone. He hasn't even made the bet yet. And B, that she's gonna quote the fortune cookie to him.
Right.
And if you think about everything else that she says in the scene, right? She attempts to overcharge him for a hamburger, right?
Because he's got money today, so she's going to attempt to overcharge him.
Yes.
And then there's the great aside. It's a great Trotterism or Dreyfusism where he just spews the burger on the floor. This hyperbolic reaction of taking one quick bite of the burger, and I just work here.
That's right. Yes, and then we have
I just work here.
And then the other degenerate who, hey, you finished with that? Knock yourself out, pal.
Knock yourself out, pal.
That's great.
Like it's
great.
still kind of caught in his, hey, knock yourself out, pal.
Yeah, so everything else that's in this scene sort of feels like what you would see from the characters you expect in this movie so far, right? Like this, like the guy who's going to eat the burger off the floor, and Quinella, you could see them at Marty's bar. Like these are characters that you could see there, but because of this other thing that's happening in this scene, that's what makes it something else.
Yeah. And it really stands out. I'm talking about a quick scene, could have been removed. I say that because oddities like that often get pulled from movies because they confuse people. And if you're like, we're receptive to that sort of thing, which is why we adore this movie in the first place. I think there's a way this movie speaks to us because of these eccentricities. But you don't see things like this make it through the Hollywood system generally. There's a polish, and the 80s were really good for having producers that were so coked out they didn't notice stuff like this. And they kind of let the filmmakers run with it. So the filmmakers and the artists always, they want to have that personality in the movie, but you fast forward 20 years and things are kind of scrubbed clean from stuff like this.
And all right, so are we going to apply a theory here that somebody was just not paying attention, and then that's why this scene is still in there? Or, I mean, is it possible they just didn't know what to make of the scene? They were just like, whatever. I mean, we know the movie was shifted from its release date, right? And we know, like, maybe there's a point where the caring side of Paramount is just not there anymore. So it's just like, whatever with your horse racing movie. It's going to tank anyway. Whatever. Whatever this cut is, this is what we're keeping. We're not going back and doing anything again. We had you reshoot some scenes, and this is the best you've given us.
That's the question. It's like,
this is the best. Reshoot. Fine.
They did reshoots. There was oversight. Like somebody at Paramount, out there. I mean, I wish we had more of these stories available to us. Like more successful movies probably have these stories documented somewhere. We don't have the benefit of books about Let It Ride or interviews and all these other retrospectives. We have a bunch of conjecture, a few interviews earlier on your podcast.
Yes.
And the bloviated commentary by Joe Pitka. So what do I think? I honestly don't know. That we made some good decisions about reshoots and rearranging scenes and excising ideas, and maybe this just fit. I look at it as an extension of some of the things I love about the movie.
Oh, you know what? For me, it's absolutely something I love about the movie. And this was something that I remember when I'm watching it, I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening here, right? You kind of just like, I don't understand. Wait, is this not just a straight up movie? Is there something, because you've been getting the hints with the fateful chimes, with the spiritual compulsion going on, but
hearing his thoughts out loud, like this is all kind of part of it, and
right. But this is like so in your face. Well, it's almost like he's having a vision, is what's happening here, right? He's having a weird vision.
The way it's shot, the way it's framed.
Yes.
Everything about this clip of her saying you might be walking around lucky and not even know it stops the movie. Like it's like it hits pause for a second, and we, like our protagonist, are like, whoa.
Yeah. And what are you doing? What is happening here? And so, I don't know. I have a feeling that either they must have liked this scene, and maybe they knew what the movie was and were like, this fits in perfectly. Or maybe they were like, all right, look, you've already reshot it. This is the best you're going to do. All right.
It's not
change this from September.
Right. Like I said, you could remove this and the movie would progress without batting an eye. So there's a reason it was kept.
There is a reason it was kept. It was in there.
Maybe it was because we had Mary Warnov on it, and it was like, that's something we can put on, like, as an attraction. Like, somebody out there would go see this movie because of Mary Warnov. Like, it's...
Well, I mean, no one saw this movie anyway, so... I don't really think it helped, to be honest. That
I'm
she's
using like a lot because I'm trying to dig into something that's not quite there.
It's called grasping at straws, James. That's
yes, okay.
Grasping at straws. But I
do on podcasts.
That is damn right. That's. I think it's right there in the job description. It's to grasp at straws for as long as you possibly can. Oh, but I do love this scene. It's very strange, and in the previous scene where Trotter gets the, he speaks to the horse trainer and he gets the pass to the Jockey Club and he gets the tip on Faith Healer. I did not realize that the name was Faith Healer. It's not until this scene that kind of digs, because in the previous scene, it's very quick when he says, the reason I love this Faith Healer. I don't know that I necessarily, that's the name of a horse. I don't think that really clicked with me. But here it's like, why do you like this Faith Healer? It's like, oh, okay. That's the one bit of information I can tell you that I grasped from this. That's something that's actual. Like everything else is just us guessing and I don't know. So there you go. That's
it could be. It is a way to hammer home the name of the horse a little bit heavier.
That's true, and
you're thinking about it a little bit more now that we've said it 4 or 5 times in the scene. Why you like Faith Healer from nowhere, and then why you like Faith Healer again.
I mean, Faith Healer does sort of sound like a spiritual compulsion type name, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. There's something about that name. Hot to Trot does not conjure up chimes in your head. Neither does Charity. Neither does Fleet Dreams. But
I just think of Bobcat Goldthwait,
dude. Oh yes, when this podcast is finished, that's what I'm doing next.
I already told you what's happening.
That's right. I already got Dabney Coleman on speed dial for this. Don't worry.
He's first rate.
All right, so this scene is so quick. Are we done? Is there anything else that we should know about this scene? Does the screenplay tell us anything different about this scene?
Not that's all that interesting. The only thing I pulled out of it was that the knock yourself out, pal, wasn't in here.
Oh wait, is that a Dreyfuss ad lib?
Perhaps.
Oh,
there may have been some on-set things, or it's Dreyfuss adding to the scene. The way he delivers the line feels like sort of an aside. I don't know if I was like trying to hear that because I knew it wasn't in the scripted dialogue or not.
I like that. I can also
go back to my little beginning examination where the why you like Faith Healer comes from nowhere is not in the scene as written in the script.
Oh, so that's also not there.
It's also not there. So theory C subset B could be that it was just a weird thing that happened on set. Like somebody said it as like a line, like how maybe it was just a weird take, and like, you know what, this plays in the spiritual realms. This weird voice from somewhere else really works. That it's not in the screenplay was another extra level of what really happened here. What was this? Something that happened on set that, like, yes, that's perfect. Like, why not run with that? Or if there's some other method to this madness.
I do like the idea that the line is a Dreyfuss ad lib, and the other line, that's just a cure. More. See, you know what? It just adds to the mystery. That's all it does. It adds to the mystery. Where's the voice coming from? What's actually happening in this scene?
This is
why
the
is she
longest conversation about this moment. Sometimes you say that as like hyperbole on something, on a podcast idea or a conversation like this, but I really feel like we've done it here.
Oh, yeah, I think so. But also, to add into the list of questions is, how did you get the name Quinella Hogan?
Right. I want everybody that's listening to this to go to this scene and really pay attention to the start.
To that, all right, so when he's first walking into the frame.
When he's first walking into the frame, it's the first 5-6 seconds. When he's first walking into this frame, there's that voice that seems to come from nowhere, and Trotter turns and is like, who, you talking to me?
Okay. You know what? I think I need to see that myself, actually.
I want I mean, the 7 or 8 people that hear this,
That's accurate, by the way.
Is it? One of them is me. I want everyone to come up with a theory explaining that moment.
Okay. All right. I mean, you could come up with a theory that explains the rest of this scene as well if you're really up to it.
It pales in comparison to the first 5 seconds.
It's all about the first 5 seconds. Damn it. That's exactly what I've been saying this entire episode.
I want Joe Pitka on this podcast explaining the first 5 seconds. You can just have him come back and redo this scene for all I care, but I wanted to explain this.
Yeah, I've got it written, actually. Explain.
Or Mary Warnoff.
Do you think
she might be down for that conversation?
I was going to say, do you think she remembers doing this movie? Oh, that day I was in Florida. Oh, yeah, that's right.
She was over her methamphetamine addiction by then.
I know, but it's just that it's so quick that you're there. You know, she's in. I can't imagine she probably had to hang. See, that's the thing.
For one day of shooting.
She had to hang around, though, for when he's running through the track, right? Because he says something like, I don't know, like, where are you going or whatever. So if she's going to hang around just to do that extra one line, I think maybe somewhere along the way she was supposed to pop up again somewhere else.
It feels like a character that's supposed to, like you said, it's supposed to show up again or have a greater role. Like another scene with her would have made the thing play a little bit more straight.
Is she one of the characters at the end of the movie who we cut to who's rooting for him as we're waiting for that last photo finish?
You know what?
I'm not sure.
I think she's watching. I think they show a clip of her watching. I'm not
okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think she's watching the monitor, but
because everyone
shows up, but
right?
She's
everyone
got
is
no
that
way
moment.
to know at the burger stand, and having her cheer would be a little bit out of character. Like she's got no enthusiasm for anyone, as far as I can tell.
Well, but everyone is rooting for him at the end. His story has captivated the entirety of Hialeah Park, right? They're all rooting for him, even though plenty of them are very apathetic regarding Trotter, to say the least, certainly at this point in the movie. I mean, she's trying to overcharge him for a burger, and then she also throws in the line of, I've seen guys dumber than you win 2 in a row. You know, she's definitely she kind of has that attitude. But a lot, I feel like, he kind of gets that a lot. I mean, look at the ticket seller. Ticket seller can't stand him and then is in love with him. So I think that's kind of going through with everyone.
Tell his kids about him.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Jockey Club. This episode was hosted and produced by me, Dan Delgado. Thank you to my guest, James David Patrick. Look for James's podcast, Cinema Shame, wherever you got this podcast from. And yes, there will be a link to it in the show notes. That's the description of the show. It's right there. Just look for it. Our theme music is from Epidemic Sound, and our cover art is by Sean Labrie. Now, if you happen to really like this episode, and you're really enjoying this series because you're a huge Let It Ride fan, then you can help out the show by buying me a coffee. Yep, it's absolutely true, and I will probably take the money and maybe literally buy a coffee with it. There's a link in the show notes on how to do it. Now, if you cannot spare the coffee money for your pal Dan because hey, you're heading out to the High Life Fronton this weekend, I understand. You can still support the show by leaving a 5-star review on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you may be listening to this. If you want to contact me, you can. You can send me an email. It's dan@moviemaker.com. I am constantly on Twitter. It is @_Dan_Delgado. Or even better, I'm on the Repod app, which is a great way to not only listen to podcasts, but to interact with podcast hosts like me. Find it in your app store, and then come on by and say hello. This has been Dan Delgado for the Jockey Club. And remember, sometimes you could be walking around lucky and not even know it.